wasn't even that close. Afterward, there was a rush of people proclaiming that the game didn't mean much. LeBron James said, quote, "This won't define who we will be for the rest of the season and for the long haul." And he is right. The Lakers are missing 2 of their 5 starters during a rough section of the schedule. And on the Utah side, well, even Donovan Mitchell has been reminding people that being good in February does not guarantee being good in June. Yes, the Jazz have won 22 of their last 24, but they also had a stretch of winning 21 of 23 back in 2018, and they still got their butts handed to them in the second round of the playoffs that year. And all of that is smart and reasonable analysis. But here is what is also true. If you have not climbed aboard the rolling, rollicking freight train that is the Utah Jazz experience this season, boy, are you missing out. This team has all the bells and whistles. A young superstar who's as inspiring off the court as he is on it. A 2-time, maybe soon to be 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. The NBA's leading 6th man and one of the league's most crafty coaches. Despite having already played the toughest part of their schedule, the Jazz are not just top 5 in the league in offense, they're top 5 in defense too, which is saying something in a season where some other teams' entire defensive strategy seems to be just rolling over and playing dead. Is it working? Are they gone yet? Anyway, that is certainly not the Jazz, whose connectedness on that end of the floor is pretty dazzling. Rudy Gobert, obviously the key there. Not only does he have tremendous instincts as a defender, we don't talk enough about the fact this man has a wingspan of nearly 8 feet. Can you picture one of those giant Humvees in your mind? Yeah, Rudy Gobert's arms stretch wider than that, and not even just by a little bit. Good luck getting past him. Meanwhile, no team in the league is better at smothering an opponent at the 3-point line, and no team in the league is better at brandishing the 3-ball either. The Jazz just set a record making 53s over their last 2 games. In fact, Utah leads the league in both 3s attempted and 3s made, spreading out and exhausting opponents so thoroughly they may want to start putting some cots and blankets in the visitors' locker room. So what is the steam engine that's powering this locomotive? Some of it is flat-out talent. In addition to the stars, and yeah, Shaq, Donovan Mitchell is a real one, the front office has put together a deep roster where guys like Jordan Clarkson are playing the best ball of their career, and others, like, say, Derek Favors, have bought into adjusted roles. And a lot of it is also continuity. Yes, Mike Conley recently missed 6 games with hamstring issues, but as a whole, the Jazz have remained largely healthy. They've only played 3 starting lineups all season. Compare that to the Nets and Rockets, who've each had to play 19. And that continuity actually extends even further back. We all remember last year when Gobert became the first NBA player to test positive for COVID, acting carelessly enough along the way that it caused real divisions inside the locker room. But it's what happened after that's really worth noting, that Gobert was both publicly and privately contrite, not just talking the talk, but walking the walk, that the team was then thrown in the bubble together, where they were just forced to iron things out, rebond, friendships slowly reforming over bad coffee and monster games of ping pong. Of course, they then flopped a bit in the playoffs, snarfing up a 3-1 series lead to Denver, and that performance has many around the league still a bit skeptical of whether the Jazz are true contenders now, or just a really hot team built for the regular season. And it's a fair question to at least ask, and last night's game isn't going to tell you the answer. Playoff basketball is just different. We don't know yet whether a Donovan and Rudy 1-2 punch is enough to best a LeBron and AD or Kawhi and PG combo, or eventually match up against KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. That is a lot of Ks there. The truth, though, is that right now, the answer to that isn't actually knowable, and it also doesn't really matter yet. Yes, eventually, we will see where this freight train is headed. But for right now, what we really should be doing is enjoying the ride. So, I got my guys here. Fizz, we got you back. Thank you for joining us. Robert, what can you tell us is the single biggest reason for you that the Jazz are dominating the league right now?
I think if you look at the way they play defensively is the key. They have a great shot blocker. A lot of teams have good shot blockers. They have a great shot blocker. When you have that type of guy behind you, you can get up on guys, run them off that 3-point line, and funnel them to Gobert. Think about it. You got Gobert. You just mentioned how long he is. He's going to block everything that comes in there, and that scares people. So now they're taking bad shots. They're forcing up threes. They're doing things out of their nature they didn't want to do. So It's all about pressing up. It reminds me of all the great teams I played on. You got Tim Duncan behind you. You got Shaq. You got Dream. When you have great shot blockers, big men who can clog the paint, you got that freedom to play on that on that 3-point line, run them off, say, go ahead. Go in there and get your shot blocked, and then we're going to start a break.
Love that. Coach Fizz, if you were preparing a team to face Utah, what would you most worry about them right now, offensively and defensively?
Well, the thing, I think that really makes them unique, to take Robert's, statement a step further, is defensively and offensively, they got an incredible amount of trust. And what I mean by that is, yes, you got a great shot blocker back there. You got a guy that can run people off and block shots and let you play the 3-point line. But you got to have trust, if you're Rudy Gobert, that your backside is going to protect you when you go chasing shots. And they have that trust on both offense and defense. Offensively, they are built where it doesn't matter who has the ball, someone is going to have the capabilities to make a play. It's not built around a star. And so every night you see their stat line, different guys are taking advantage of the situations every night. Donovan Mitchell's the man. He can play, but ultimately everyone gets to contribute in this system, and it's beautiful to watch because it's all based on team.
Yes, Snyder has made a good coaching adjustment. He's going to Clarkson and say, hey, yo, Clarkson, you got talent. Go out and do your thing. We're going to get you your shots. And I think that's the biggest key. Clarkson is getting his shots. But if you watch him in the game last night, he had a shot. He passed it up and gave it to another guy with a better shot. The old Clarkson would have forced that up. And that's contagious. The whole team are giving up shots easily for guys to get easier shots. And when you're playing basketball like that, it's flat out beautiful.
Yeah, they're getting the most out of everyone. That's a tribute to the coaching staff, but also, of course, to the players themselves. You mentioned Jordan Clarkson's growth and maturity. I mentioned Derek Favors a few minutes ago. Here's a guy who had a bigger role when he was with the Jazz last time, came back, and is now accepting a different role. And you guys always talk about being a star in your role. Every single guy on that team is contributing something important and feels like they're contributing something important. And that does matter as you get toward the playoffs. So, again, I agree with everyone who said last night didn't tell us much. That's because we already knew the Utah Jazz were really, 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 really good. All right, I want to get to today's difference maker, brought to you by CarMax. Take a look. CJ McCollum, not only one of the best guards in the NBA, he's also one of the most vocal advocates for the advancement of social justice in the league. Now, recently, CJ has focused his efforts to help end voter suppression. CJ, welcome back to The Jump. I want to hear a little bit more about that before we get started with basketball stuff. What have you been working on lately?
I'm working on a lot of different things. I think, obviously, education has always been a main focal point on things that I've wanted to accomplish in terms of educating the youth and kind of uplifting those who don't necessarily have a voice, and being able to join the Social Change Fund. We've been working on a lot of different things in terms of supporting our neighborhoods and figuring out ways to not only educate them about things like vaccinations, like the importance of voting, like some of the things that are happening to our brothers and sisters out here in terms of unfair trials, unfair stops and things of that nature with police and law enforcement, but also trying to kind of bridge that gap and bring people together so that we better understand how to coexist with people of authority. Yeah. Those are a lot of things we've been working on, while also trying to provide resources to our schools and to our communities.
I mean, we just had an election where the national discussion got so much attention, but it really is on the local level where most people's lives are affected, right? What they know, how they're able to interact with their local government officials, with the police. It's just so important. And the more knowledge you have, the more power, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's what we're trying to get across to our kids and our brothers and sisters in our communities, is that we have to educate each other on what's available to us from a usage standpoint, but also how to maneuver and how to kind of behave